Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanctuary. I'm your host, Professor C, and today I'll be taking us through another A&P study session. Today, specifically, I'll be talking about testing yourself. I'll be going through lots of questions to see how much you've picked up from the previous lectures. So this is a great day to see what you've learned. Many of the what we call standardized tests or test bank questions look like these. So if you can handle ones like this, you're setting yourself up for success. They're multiple choice, or as I call them, multiple guess questions. 4 choices, A, B, C, and D. But let's give it a try here. Test yourself for Unit 1. Histology could best be defined as the study of, okay, we got no problems here. Study of is ology. Histo, we know, refers to tissues. So let's just see what our choices are. And this is a really good trick when you're doing multiple choice exams, is try to answer the question before you look at the answers, and then pick which answer is closest to what is in your mind for the answer. So we immediately went to tissues, and we're correct. Okay, increased breathing rate resulting from an increase in carbon dioxide in the blood. So apparently carbon dioxide is building up in the blood and we're getting some signal to increase breathing rate. This is an example of, now this could be many different things really. You could squeeze into that blank. Let's see which one fits best here. Maintaining bound. No, that's I'm not thinking that's going to be the one. You know, that just doesn't make sense. Excretion of waste. Now that does make some sense because carbon dioxide, I know, is a waste product from respiration. So that does make some sense. Responsiveness, it makes some sense also, but it makes less sense than B does at this point. And then D makes sense also at some level, and I even see the word metabolism in the answer B. But I think B is best here, even though you could argue that it could be B, C, or D. But again, the best answer there would be B, excretion of waste. Average body temperature is, and this is just a fact to remember, either remember it or if you don't, there's some numbers here to help you, but try to figure out before you look. It is 98 Fahrenheit, right? So don't jump on that answer even though you're like, I know that one. It's 98.6 Fahrenheit, right? 68, no. 47, that sounds close, but not quite. 30, there you go, 37, that's going to be it. 37 degrees Celsius. What is the general purpose of negative feedback? Okay, just by a definition, like a flashcard definition, we know negative feedback has to do with turning off, right? Diminishing some sort of stimulus, right? So let's see if anything here looks like that. To control all body systems. No, there are some body systems that are controlled by positive feedback, right? To maintain homeostasis. That is true. We do use negative feedback to maintain homeostasis. Is there a better answer? Because that one's kind of weak. To keep blood sugar levels high. Well, that may be what one purpose of a negative feedback loop, but it's not certainly the general or the most common purpose, right? Like the bare bones purpose is not about blood sugar. And then to regulate excretion, again, that's not general either. So B looks like the best choice at this point to maintain homeostasis. And we're correct. Okay, next one. What is the specific name for the hip region? We gave 2 terms for this during our lectures. The first one we saw started with a C, coxal. Later, when we were looking at the 9 abdominal pelvic regions, we saw the name iliac. So I'm going to look here for either coxal and iliac. If I see both, I'm going to get confused. I'm going to ask the test giver what the deal is here with this question. Let's see. Well, there's coxal right off the bat. Inguinal, nope, that's kind of the groin area, the upper inner thigh that we talked about. Pedal refers to foot. like a pedestrian walks on their foot. Manus, referring to the hand. And during our lectures, we didn't even mention those two at the end, I don't think, because there's just so many we could have chosen from. So coxal here will definitely be almost an immediately correct gimme answer. Okay, the heart lies in the blank cavity. Now you could go several places here, right? I mean, it is in the ventral cavity. It's also, you could say it's in the thoracic cavity. But most specifically, it's in the pericardial cavity within the thoracic cavity, within the ventral cavity, right? So let's see what we can do on this one. Synovial, no, that has to do with joints, so that's not it. Pleural is lungs. Nope. Dorsal, no, that's brain and spinal cord. We know we're back there in the dorsal cavity. Pericardial, there we go. We see heart, we see cardia, and now we remember, of course, there's the answer. D, pericardial. The cavities housing the eyes are called the blank. Now you might jump to optic right away, but remember we made a distinction between the actual eyes being optic and the sockets. The eye sockets in the skull where the eyes fit is what this is looking for. And those are cranial. Nope, that's not it. Nasal, that has to do with the nose. That's not it. Pleural, that's a lung term. Orbital, there we go. Orbital is the only one that makes sense here. And it is correct. A body structure composed of 3 tissue types. Okay, this goes back to the hierarchy of organization where we started with atoms to molecules to cells to tissues to organs. And that's what we're looking for here. If something is made of 2 or more tissue types, that is defined as being an organ. So complex tissue is not a real term. That's a made-up term. Don't pick that. Organ, yeah, that looks like it. Organ system, not quite, no. And a homunculus, what the heck is that? Again, if you get to a term you just haven't seen before, and you know that you've paid attention and you've studied and you know what you're doing, and you see a strange term, don't pick the strange term. That's the rule. Okay. Are we right? Yes, we are right. Cavities found within joints are called blank. We kind of gave this one away a minute ago, being a wrong answer in another question. It should be synovial, right? That should be the answer, synovial. Let's find it. Nasal is the nose. Synovial, bing. That looks like the answer to me. Orbital is the eye socket. And oral refers to the mouth. So this is another simple one. Synovial is correct. Okay, which of the following would not, big O letters, not be a functional characteristic of life? Okay, we gave 8 characteristics to life in our lecture series. So if you can remember back to those, let's see which one it is. Movement, responsiveness, maintenance of boundaries, and production of oxygen. Oh, this one's a little tricky because we talked about all of these in some form or fashion, but the bottom one there, production of oxygen. No, you don't have to produce oxygen to live. Some organisms need it, and we talked about that in one of the necessities of life slides. But I'm thinking D just smells funny, right? Those other 3 sound really good. So if we're looking for a not, remember, not is, I would pick D every time. And I'd be right. Okay, which anatomical term, and there were a bunch of these, both regional terms and positional, directional terms. So let's see if we can remember some of these. References the back. Well, anterior, that's front. Lateral, we know that means on the side. Distal refers to something distant or far. So none of those make sense. It's got to be D. Unless we've totally forgotten what we're doing here. So let's see, D, yeah, okay, remember the whole thing. I drew the weird looking shark and I said, remember that dorsal fin sticking up out of the water as the shark comes to eat you. Dorsal wins the game. Okay, next one, which is the single most abundant chemical substance within the body, accounting for 60 to 80% of total body weight? That's a bunch, but a lot of clues there. 60 to 80% is one of, I think in our lecture we said 70%. And this is going to be water, 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 water. Water would be the answer, and we know why water is important. It's to run metabolism. So let's look. Oxygen, nope. Protein, nope. Hydrogen, no. Water, water, water. And it is correct. Which is the anatomical term, all right, for the posterior patella? Okay, this is that knee thing. We know that the bony front of the knee is called patellar, but it's asking for the posterior patella. What's the smooth back of the knee called? If you can't remember, it has to do with the hamstrings, and the root word for ham was popples. So it should have something to do with pop. Let's see. Sural, that's the calf. Close. But that's the calf. Crural, that's the leg below the knee. So again, close, but not it. Antecubital, that has to do with the forearm. That's definitely not it. So I'm guessing it's D again. And pop, there's our pop. Popliteal referring to the hamstrings in the back. Popliteal is the winner. Which of the following statements is true? Big letters, true. Which one's true concerning feedback? I bet we have a couple of closers here, but we need to get the best one. Let's check them out. Positive feedback always results in excessive damage to the host cell. Well, that doesn't make sense at all. That doesn't make any sense. So we'll put that one on the back burner. Negative feedback tends to increase the stimulus. No, it doesn't actually. Negative feedback tends to decrease or diminish whatever was the original stimulus. So that doesn't make sense either. Negative feedback works to prevent sudden, severe changes. Well, it certainly does. And I think on our slide during the lecture, that's exactly what it said it did. So I'm going to go with that right now. Looks like a pretty good choice. Blood sugar levels. Again, blood sugar. We didn't talk about blood sugar. Yeah, it's regulated by something, but not positive feedback, because we know positive feedback is very rare, and we see it in very few instances. So we're going with C here. And okay, we got it. Okay, anatomical position is characterized by all of the following except, again, another one that's a not question. We want the one that's, one of these things is not like the other. Let's figure out which one it is. So we're talking anatomical position, standing up straight, that is anatomical position. Arms at your side, that is anatomical position. Palms turn posteriorly. Posterior is the back, so that we know palms go forward because the thumbs have to be turned out laterally. So that's wrong, and I'm thinking that's going to be the answer already. Because let's see the next one just to make sure. Thumbs pointed laterally. Okay, great. So that's correct. C is wrong. C is the exception. Bye bye C. Okay, a good example of positive feedback. Okay, in my lecture I gave 3 to you. I said gastrin in the stomach. We talked about platelet plug formation during blood clotting. Those 2 may be here, but I said the most common one you see on standardized types of tests has to do with the hormone oxytocin and labor contractions. So let's see if we have any of those here on our list. Regulation of body temp. Now that's a negative feedback. Regulation of blood sugars. Wow, we love blood sugar here, but that's another negative feedback. There is labor contractions. That has to be the answer, right? Let's just check and make sure so we don't make some silly error. Regulation of blood calcium is negative feedback. You may not have known that right away, but again, labor contractions is like hands down the one that's asked about on these types of tests over and over and over. So I'm guessing that's the winner. And it is. Which of the following describes a parasagittal cut? Okay. We got to think of our cuts, our body planes. A sagittal cut, let me just draw a little beautiful looking person here. A sagittal cut, remember, cuts or separates the left side from the right side. And if it's right in the middle, we call that a mid-sagittal cut. However, we said if we cut along here, away from the midline, that would be called a parasagittal cut. So by definition, we're looking for something that's separating left from right, but not exactly in the midline. Let's see. A transverse cut, just, no, that doesn't make sense at all. Transverse goes somewhere like that. So that doesn't make sense. Two cuts dividing the body into three. What? We never talked about anything like that. That's a silly answer. Don't pick it. Any sagittal cut except one at the midline. That sounds great, which is true. That is a parasagittal cut. Let's see if D's any better. Any cut dividing the body into anterior and posterior. Well, we know if you're going to separate front from back, that's not a sagittal cut at all. Separating front from back is a frontal cut or a coronal cut. So C looks like our winner. And it is. Which of the following organs would be found in the left iliac region? Okay, well, we need to do this thing, right, where we had those 9 abdominopelvic regions. And what we're looking for, and you have to remember again, right is over here, left is over here. That's the trick. If we started in the middle with this umbilicum, we could talk about the other levels: epigastric, hypochondria, lumbar. This is in the lecture series if you haven't seen them. And in the bottom, what do we have down here? Hypogastric. And over here we had iliac, right iliac, and left iliac, where the hips are. So the question is, which organs would you expect to find in the left iliac region, way down there? So this one's kind of tricky, but if you try to think, what is down there? There's not much but intestines down there. But let's see what our choices are. Appendix, well, we haven't gone over it explicitly, but the appendix is on the other side. It's on the right side of the body, so it can't be that. Stomach, stomach's up here. So stomach is definitely not it. Liver, the liver's over here. So that's definitely not it. So we're left with D again, which must be the answer because the 3 above just can't be it. And there you go, intestines. I said it's kind of hard to think of anything down there that's not intestines. But good choice. Let's see. Yes it is. Which of the following systems responds most directly to environmental stimuli? So we're looking for a system, probably an organ system, perhaps. And remember, there were 11 organ systems. Let's see which one of those 11 systems matches to our answer here. Muscular system. Most directly responds. I don't know if that's would be it. I can see how, maybe, but most directly responds? Makes that iffy. Lymphatic has to do with, cleaning up stuff that's leaked out of the blood. So I would say that's definitely a way far off answer. Immune system. Well, unfortunately, the immune system is not actually one of the 11 systems, right? And I know people would say, wait a minute, let me look at my list real quick of 11 systems. No, immune's not on there. So it's not an organ system. It's a functional system. It's a defensive system, but it's not considered to be an organ system. So that's not it either. And again, we have 1, 2, 3, 1 maybe, but I hope D is better. Nervous, perfect. Nervous system looks like a great answer to that. And it is. Okay, choose the anatomical topic and definition that is not correctly matched. Okay, gross anatomy we know is big stuff. So I'm looking here, the study of structures visible to the naked eye. Well, that makes sense. So I would say that is correctly matched. That's not going to be our answer. Microscopic anatomy, again, is looking at tiny things. So the study of structures too small to be seen by the naked eye. That's great. That sounds good too. Cytology, the study of structures in a particular region. No, we know cyto means cell. So cytology is the study of cells. So if we're looking for the one that is not correctly matched, that sounds like a really good choice right now because it's definitely not matched. Let's see what D is. Embryology, the study of changes in an individual. Well, that's, I think, the definition I gave in the lecture series. So C is the one that's not right. All the other three are correct. Got that one right? Good. Homeostasis is a condition in which the body maintains what? Well, we know it has something to do with maintaining balance or equilibrium, something like that. So let's see if we can find an answer that's close to that. Maintains the lowest possible energy use. Well, that doesn't make any sense. We didn't talk about that at all. That sounds like a bogus answer. Maintains a relatively stable internal environment within limits. That sounds pretty good, actually. I'm going to go for B right now. Let's see if there's another one better, but that sounds really good. Homeostasis is a condition in which the body maintains C, a static state with no deviation from preset. Well, that's not it, because we know that there is some wiggle room, right? There is some range. And so the phrase no deviation makes this one wrong. B still looks good. A dynamic state? We did talk about that. With an unlimited range, well, that's not it. It doesn't have an unlimited range. Remember, it's got a very narrow range that it operates in. So we're going to go to B, because B looks great. And B is correct. Okay, in which cavities are the lungs located? Another body cavities game. Remember, we could do dorsal ventral, and it can't be dorsal. So ventral could be the answer. But I bet it's going to get specific again. But it's probably plural because that's the most specific choice. Let's see. Ooh, they're going to throw all three at us now. Pleural, check. Ventral, check. Thoracic, check. Those are all three correct. So I'm guessing that's going to be it. Let's make sure and see if there's something wrong with the rest of them. But those are the three that came out first from my mind, were ventral, thoracic, and pleural. Let's see. Mediastinum, no. Thoracic, yes. Ventral, yes. But mediastinum's wrong. Pleural, yep. Dorsal, nope. And certainly not abdominal. So C is wrong 2 times over. And then pericardial is wrong. Ventral and thoracic are correct. So again, A looked good. Still looks the best. And it's the winner. Place these terms in order from simplest to most complex. Okay, this is a hierarchy question, and it's a pretty straightforward one. What was the base level? Atoms, right? So 2 should be first. Atoms. Atoms combine to form molecules. Molecules combine to form millions of them to form cells and their organelles. Cells combine to form tissues, and then tissues combine to form organs. So the answer should be 2, 1, 4, 3, 5. And all we have to do now is look for the correct sequence. Nope. 2, 1, 4, 3, 5. That looks beautiful. In fact, that has to be it because that's what we came up with. That's different. That starts with a 1. So it's got to be B, and it is. Which of these is not part of the dorsal cavity? Again, dorsal cavity is brain and spinal cord. So anything here that's not brain spinal cord is going to be the answer. Okay, the brain is in the cranial cavity, so that is part of dorsal. Thoracic is ventral, and I can almost without a doubt say that's going to be the answer, but let's look. Yep, spinal cord is dorsal. Vertebral cavity, which houses the spinal cord, is dorsal. So B is definitely the answer here. This is an easy, cheesy one. Moving right along. Which of the following statements regarding homeostatic imbalance is most correct? It is considered the cause of most diseases. Could be. That could be it. And again, it's saying here most correct, implying these all could be correct choices. So watch out for this one. Let's see. Let's continue. The internal environment is becoming more stable. No, more stable is not imbalance, right? So A is still looking best. Positive feedback mechanisms are functioning normally. Well, normally implies, again, not an imbalance. Negative feedback mechanism. Okay, another normal. So if we have stable and normal, those are not imbalanced. And it is. Okay, the dorsal body cavity is the site of which of the following? Again, same question, just reworded in a different way. Dorsal is cranial and vertebral, so brain and spinal cord. Intestines, no. Brain, yep, that's got to be a good choice. Lungs, no, that's ventral. Liver, no, that's ventral. So brain is the answer? Yes, it is. Which of the following are survival needs of any human body? We talked about the 5 survival needs. Nutrients, that's one. Water, that's one. Movement, that wasn't a survival need, right? So let's cancel that one out for a minute. That might have been in one of the characteristics of life, but as far as needs, I think we can cancel that one out. Nutrients, yes. Water, yes. Growth and reproduction. Again, this one sounds pretty good. Let's look at all of these actually together. Water, pressure, growth, movement, nutrients, water, pressure, oxygen. But if I do go back and look at my 5 survival needs, they were nutrients, water, oxygen, atmospheric pressure, and regulated temperature. And that has 4 out of the 5 right there. So that better be the answer, even those others look really good. They're not. And that is our answer. Okay, anatomical position is used blank. Okay, that sounds like it could be a lot of different things. Let's look at our choices. Anatomical position is used rarely because people don't usually... No, that's false. That's not the answer, right? It doesn't matter if people don't assume that position. It's used all the time. So it is used as a standard of reference point for directional terms regardless of the actual position. That sounds great, like I'm saying. Even though people don't stand at that, you can use it as a reference. That looks good. Only when a body is lying down. Nope, that's wrong. Is used as the most comfortable way to stand when dissecting something. That makes absolutely no sense at all. So it's probably going to be B. And it is. A vertical section. Again, vertical is this way. Draw a face if you want. And it's reminding you, dividing it into left and right, in case you don't know what vertical is. It does tell you there, divide into left and right is called sagittal. We've seen this already. It may be parasagittal, mid-sagittal, but it's going to have the term sagittal in it somewhere. Frontal, nope. That separates front from back. Regional cut, it makes no sense at all. There's no such thing as a regional cut. Sagittal, there's our winner. Transverse, we know, is horizontal, not vertical. So sagittal is our answer. A vertical section, okay, again, like this, dividing the body into front and back. Okay, that's a little different. Now if we drew someone's face, we could draw like this, so we can definitely tell, hey, that's still a vertical cut, but it's separating separating front from back. The other one was left from right. That's a sagittal. But if we're cutting now front from back, that's either called a frontal or a coronal cut. So let's look for that. Frontal. There it is. That was easy. That's probably going to be our answer. Let's just make sure there's nothing spooky that's going to mess us up. Median, nope. Sagittal, nope. Horizontal, no. So A is the winner. Which body cavity protects the nervous system? Okay, well, the nervous system is the brain and the spinal cord, and I know the body cavity that protects it is the cranial and vertebral cavities, which are the dorsal cavity. So dorsal's got to be the only answer here. Ventral, no. Dorsal, yes. Pericardial, no way. And thoracic doesn't make any sense either. So ventral, sorry. Dorsal protects the nervous system. B is our answer. There we go. Got it. Which of the following best describes how the heart and blood vessels function? Okay. Key term is function. So I'm looking for physiology, right? Remember, anatomy is structure. So if I see function, I immediately think physiology. And if I see heart and blood vessels, I immediately think the CV system, right? Cardiovascular. So let's see if something here reminds us of that. Systemic anatomy. Well, anatomy is wrong because we're talking function again. So I'm not going there. Cardiovascular, there's part of our answer, but I see anatomy again. And anatomy is structure. So I'm going to move away from that one too. I don't like either of those. Systemic physiology. That is physiology within a system. I think that's a decent answer, but that doesn't really say anything about the heart and blood vessels. So that looks very much better. Cardiovascular physiology. We hit the heart, blood vessels, and function. Cardiovascular physio. We hit them all three there. D's got to be the best choice. And it is. That was it. How did you do? So for every 7 that you got wrong, that would cost you a letter grade. So something like if you missed 7, would call that an A. If you missed 14, would call that a B. If you missed 21, would call that a C if you took this as a college class or a high school class. How did you do? Okay. I hope you enjoyed that. We're going to go. Bye-bye.